a week ago, but otherwise, yep, no, all good. Thank you.
How about the stability of those Magpies of yours?
Nice to see you, Molly.
Now, actually, I was thinking as I came in and Jace had asked yesterday if I wanted to come and join you guys this afternoon, and I thought I really do enjoy the sports chat that you guys have at the start of Grey Areas. So I thought maybe I should do a bit of research to kind of get my sport chat up, right?
Do you know darts?
Well, no, not into darts.
Jason
Look,
loves
I used
Caribbean
to be.
Premier League,
Yeah,
T20s.
believe it or not, I used to be a Geelong Feral supporter. I don't know whether I've told you this
How
before.
can you used to be, but you're not now?
Well, I've had kids, I've got a farm. Now the football's on, I use it as a chance to close my eyes or go for a run or something other than watching the football.
That's
right?
coming from a bloke who supports two teams.
Yes,
Not going there.
absolutely. So I did think, should I do some research to lift my sporting game? But then something sprung to mind, and it happened yesterday. Jace and I were sitting in our team meeting at GRV, and I'm the only female in our team. We're waiting for our manager, and the sports chat was happening. There was some pretty big AFL discussion, and the only thing I could bring to the table was Bailey Smith and Tammy Hembrow.
Are you aware of this lady, John?
She's the good-looking blonde girl.
Well, look,
Well, you know
she
more
is
than me, mate.
she's an established content creator.
Oh, yes.
17 million Instagram followers. Are you around that, John?
No, I didn't know it was that big.
Yes, she's monstrous.
I don't
And
believe
that was my.
Does she own a dog?
No, she doesn't. And that was all I could bring to this chat. There were not only crickets, everyone was pretty quick to get out their phones to have a look at who Tammy was. But look, they're a pretty iconic duo. I wouldn't mind seeing a Melbourne Cup night.
Imagine that. Imagine that. All right, let's get on with it. There's a lot of racing to talk about, and of course, the situation in Tasmania looms as well. And unfortunately, in the past 24 hours, the vote of no confidence in the government didn't come to fruition. So, largely because of these backdoor doors that are being done for personal gain of the current Premier, which is obviously alarming for the integrity of Tasmanian politics, but the sport will keep fighting, and there's a lot of info that's continued to be rolled out that is just undeniable. I mean, turnover on greyhound racing down there in the past year is up 6%, which is contrary to the other codes, and as well clarity around what percentage of the dollar turned over on each of the three codes goes back to the sport, where greyhound racing is clearly contributing to the other two codes in an agreement that was meant to be up in 20 and 29. So all those reports, all those funding chats, which is just largely rubbish given the sport generates the dollar in which it receives. So the more we learn, the more everything around it stinks. And on Sunday, I understand Paul Murray of Sky News will be in Tasmania, and fingers crossed this issue will be on the agenda, Molly, and illustrated in the best possible way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when the news came out about Tassie, and you can even rewind a bit further to when it came out about New Zealand as well, I just thought of the people, and it made me think of my situation where I am right now. I grew up working for Linda Britton in Western Australia. I spent 17 years there. I started when I was in primary school. And I think about the life that I'm living right now, and it is exactly what I envisaged I would be doing. Like, this is what I thought I'd be doing, as in living the absolute dream. I've got 30 dogs, I've got 2 kids, throw in a husband and some sheep and cows as well. Like, the dream is absolutely elevated. And I think despite all of the hard work that is put in and the time and dedication, you can't put past the dedication and the love that these people and we have for the animals. I think we forego holidays and trips to see family in New Zealand and Western Australia. And sometimes I worry, because we are so stuck to the property, I worry that the kids aren't getting a normal childhood. But then I think, why isn't this normal? They're coming out on a Sunday where we
How
all
old are
go
your
out.
kids, for people out there wondering?
Yeah, Harriet, my daughter, she's 4, and Oliver, my son, he's almost 2. And look, Harriet absolutely loves the dogs, and Oliver is trying to. He wants to be a part of it. Harriet's got about 6 dogs. She can walk to and from the kennels to the let-out yards, and we actually even bought a racing greyhound who would race at Shep into her kindergarten like 3 days after he backed up, and he had 34-year-olds who were scared of dogs, and here we are walking around this 40-kilo dog. And it was just incredible. These guys just couldn't get over it, but I think I couldn't imagine having this discussion with my daughter Harriet, so 4 years old, and saying that we could no longer do what we loved, because every day we get home from daycare or kinder and she's begging us to go out to the kennels. She's begging us to go and watch Dad at the races, or even James and Harriet have a bit of a, like in the morning after James goes to the races at night, they'll go and watch the dogs win, lose or draw, like the replays. There's no gambling involved in that. Harriet is just genuinely excited to see the athletes that we spend so much time on perform on TV. Like, she thinks Dad's a rock star because she sees him rock up on TV.
And now her mum's on grey areas.
Yes, exactly. It's funny. She actually recognised Jason's voice from, obviously, when I do the little wrap up, she will recognise Jason as the one from radio. But I think one thing, it's the community that I just cannot fathom losing. Over the past 2 weekends, we've had some lovely friends in Nick and Nikki come over for a couple of hours, and we put all of our greyhounds up behind the drag lure. So that's just a lure that we run up our straight track. Do we need to get to sale and I can finish my story? Yeah, we run up the lure up the middle of our straight track. We can put, in the last 2 weeks, we've probably put 35 dogs up the straight. At first, when James asked me if we could do it with the kids, I thought, no, they don't need to be a part of this. But the smile on their face when they're on the motorbike with James, driving up, watching these dogs go past, and the videos, hearing them cheer these dogs as they're like chasing the drag lure, it just makes you so happy. Losing that would be very, very sad.
Indeed. Love your story. And I've got one more question about it too before we move on to the Nationals and everything happening at the Q in the coming 10 days or so. But in the meantime, race 3 at Sales fast approaching in what looks to be a market that you'd see at Swindon at midnight. It is wide open. $4.60 the field. Paul Hammond to talk us through the action.
So they're getting set. Miss Bella Babe here races with blinkers. Very wide betting race. Punter's not sure which way to go here. The green light is on, set for the third race, 435 metres. Racing, Substation came out okay, a bit slow out Dr. Gianna, and showing speed on the inside, Monty's Return. Monty's Return's the early leader, going up Substation second, round the outside Miss Bella Babe, then and following it was BU. Deep on the track, Dr. Hopper's got into trouble there with Miss Black, and Dignity Prevails. Coming up around the corner, Monty's Return just in front on the outside, Miss Bella Babe. Miss Bella Babe about a head in front, Miss Bella Babe wins at a length, Monty's Return, and third goes to BU. Fourth out wide, Dignity Prevails, then Dr. Gianna, Substation, Dr. Hopper, Miss Black, and the time recorded around 25:01. Number 7, Miss Bella Babe's got up at a good price here by Shimmer Shine from Miss Malfunction, 25:01, or changing slightly to 25 even, 5:32 early, 13:80, 25 even, 11:20 the run in. Number 7 is first, Miss Bella Babe. 3 second, Monty's Return. 8 BU is third, and number 5 gets into fourth. So it's 7-3-8-5. 7-3-8-5. The interim's on the third here at Sale.
And that was Paul Hammond's on top select there, number 7 in the race at $5.90 and $1.80. And he's also selected the trifecta in race 3. Race 4, he's gone the Black Dog, 7, 4, 6 and 1. They're just in now, Molly and Jace, so I'll clear these. Number 7, Miss Bella Babe at $5.90 and $1.80. 3, Monty's Return, $1.10. 8 BU at $2.20. And 5, Dignity Prevails. The Quinella, $12. Exacta, $34. Paul's trifecta, $92. And the first 4 with the 5, $1,513. Running double, 6 and 7, $13.
Thank you, John. A couple of text messages have rolled in. Ash, geez, you asked some good questions. We'll get to yours soon. Mr. Rockcliffe is the biggest dropkick in Tassie government. He's got no heart for the industry. That's from Matty Field. I think a lot of people will be on the same page. Matthew, moving on to your backstory, Molly. Now, before we move on to some racing, I want to ask about your rehoming strategy, because we know it can be challenging for some people. You do a very good job of it. And you run an event of some sort, which is a thank you day or something like that. Tell the listeners what it's all about.
Absolutely. So I'm probably the demise of, I'm just very lucky that my husband has a great financial brain, because if I was running our property, we would be absolutely broke with the amount of dogs I want to keep. So something that is really, really important to me is that I keep in contact with the dogs that we've got. So I started up last year a thank you day where I invite the greyhounds that we've had to come back for a day. We have coffee and
Ones that have
cakes.
been rehomed elsewhere.
Yep, absolutely. We've sent out invites to everyone. We've had a couple go to America, so obviously they couldn't make the trip. But look, it was great to have the first one. It's something that I will continue to do. But one thing that is a bit of a bugbear of my husband is I'll say to people when I rehome a greyhound, look, they can come back free of charge when you go on holidays. Don't worry about sending it to another kennel. Well, we got stitched up for a couple of weeks, I should say James, because we rehomed one of my favourite dogs, Sharpie. Unlettered Diesel was his race name. There was actually someone in Queensland that had a tattoo of Unlettered Diesel on his leg or his arm because he just won big on the punt on the dog because he got up at big odds. And so rehomed Sharpie to my daughter's dentist, of all people, right? When I go, I fly the flag pretty hard. But it turns out she had already had a greyhound herself, Tessie, who was a dog that would go into the school in Wallen and is like a therapy dog for kids, right? So I said, yep, no worries if you adopt Sharpie. Well, they came out to have a look at the farm and they fell in love with Sharpie and ended up taking him straight away, which is a bonus. But then whenever they go away and they are, on the verge of retirement, they have a fair few holidays a year, and we will not only get Sharpie back, we will get Tessie as well. So a dog we had nothing to do with, just sitting in a kennel that James absolutely, he shakes his head at me certainly, but he also understands where I'm coming from. But I think one thing that is great about James is that he knows from the pups that we put on the ground when it comes to breeding, he knows that it's going to take us X amount of time generally to rehome this dog. And a part of that, when we get them desexed, we then bring them into the house. So they are integrated into the family. But I think the added bonus is these dogs have been around kids since the second that they were born. They've been, when they were pups, being thrown around toys and whatnot. So having them in the house and transitioning them that way has been something that's been really, really important to me. So that is what we do.
Yeah, 100%. And look, when we speak about all these things, and we know there's a lot of people out there that are fully aware of what the sport's all about. However, it's one thing for us to communicate that to a converted audience. It's another thing to sort of break the barriers down to the general public. So if anyone's got any ideas on how to go about that and maybe the best way that we can give ourselves an opportunity to do that, let us know. 0416 90 50 52. Now let's move on to the racing, Molly, and we get in review mode first and quickly on Sandown last Saturday night. Good wins from the likes of Webleg Joel, Traumatise, Saquon back in business as his pass mark, but no doubt the greyhound who took the cake on the night, Explicit, doing what Explicit does. 29.18 at $1.20. Where to next is the question.
Absolutely. But the news that when he came out of retirement was probably the best news that I've received in a very long time. I'm just so stoked that we get to continue to see this dog. Saquon was huge as well. It was just good to see him get back into the winner's circle. I can't wait to see what he can do into the future.
And speaking of Sandown, on Monday night, there was a debutante in the first race called Electrify for former Melbourne player, and he's a big unit, Gregory Doyle, who went 29.25 on debut. Not due until February. So a black booker, if I've ever seen one. Electrify won the first at Sandown on Monday night. We had the National Straight Track Championship, the Victorian elements of that run at Hillsville on Sunday. And that was a ding-dong battle, wasn't it, Molly? Of course, we've spoken about the National Sprint, the National Distance. Now it's time for the Straight Track, which will be run on the same card as what all of these other national finals will be. It was won by Serial Sticker, won by Mile a Minute. Sorry to the Greenos, who defeated Serial Sticker in what was a ding-dong battle.
Oh, it was enormous. It was probably one of my favourite straight track races I've seen in a little while. I think Serial Sticker, I went in with a lot of confidence. I spoke to Brendan Purcell heading into that qualifier, and I heard that air of confidence. And I really, really enjoyed watching those two go battle, but Mile a Minute is absolute quality. One dog we should also mention, Matlock as well. He returned after a bit of time on the sidelines at Healesville, and he was enormous too. He is just a genuine star.
Mile a Minute going for back-to-back National Straight Track Championship titles. Now, he's come up with box 3 in the final. Serial Sticker at box 7. Now, Serial Sticker is $10. I am staggered by that. Mile a Minute, $3.30. And the favourite's ex-South Australian, now Queenslander in Darcy Dakota. So, I mean, I think this market, Molly, has underestimated how fast these two are up a straight, particularly Serial Sticker, who, as you said, hasn't been long since resuming.
Oh, couldn't agree more. And look, what I also love too is both of these dogs have travelled as well. They've been on the road. I don't think you can underestimate just how important it is to have had the miles in their legs when it comes to interstate travel, when you're backing up with quality.
So last Friday, we touched on the action at the Meadows last Thursday, which meant, in terms of the national sprint final, that Tim Zoo, Flying Zulu, and also Mapunga Reward fly the flag for the Big V at the Q on August 30. So box draws from that point of view. Mapunga Reward in 2, Tim Zoo in 7, Flying Zulu in 8, and Mapunga Reward has come up the favourite post box draw at $3.30. So we know up there, Molly, there's a requirements for greyhounds that haven't raced at the Q to trial there. As for those three, they've raced there. I'm sure they've still got the option to trial, but it seems like there's a couple of different avenues being taken, at least in the Mapunga Reward situation.
Yeah, without a doubt. I spoke to Jeff Britton this morning. He said that he won't trial Mapunga Reward. He's been there and done that on the track. He'll head up the week of the final and tackle it from there. I'd say Thompson's dogs won't be far off, if not already there in Queensland. They've got a great relationship up there with the Bretts, who they're just an iconic duo, aren't they? But one thing, I know the sprint isn't run over the 550, but those races between Tim Zoo and Mapunga Reward over 550 were just
elite.
Oh, they were good quality. What I wouldn't do to see that them go head to head over the 550 there.
Indeed, and of course the national distance final, where we've got Ethanol Water and also Without a Trace representing Victoria there. Ethanol Water's come up with box 3 at $3.70. And Without a Trace is a favourite at $2.50, Molly. And this is a girl, and unlike Ethanol Water, who hasn't been on the road. Ethanol Water's been there, done that in just about every state in Australia. As for Without a Trace, she's never been on a plane. She's never raced outside of Victoria. So what is the plan of attack from the Peugeot camp? Because obviously with that requirement, the trial, they've got to get up there this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had the pleasure of talking to Peter and Nat. I always get to talk to the two of them. They're one in the same. I spoke to them this morning when I was on my way up here, and they're actually driving Without a Trace up. They just
driving.
Yep, they're driving up. So they are due to trial tomorrow evening, pending on the weather. So they will take I actually don't know how long it'd take, but they've got a few stopovers, a few stops that they'll need to take. But they've just decided that is what's best for her at this point in time. She is so young, without knowing the dogs extraordinarily well outside of the Victorians. She's likely the baby of the field. We've really got to remember how young she is, and there is, that slight blemish in the group race not too long ago at the Meadows, but gosh, she proved herself last week, and I was lucky enough to be on course, and she's poetic how she races.
She's the real deal, and obviously there's that asterisk which hopefully deteriorates, and that is her performance in the Fireball, but she certainly turned up in that distance final last week.
There's been plenty of dogs in the early stages of their career who haven't done things convincingly. Fernando Bale was one. He took a little while to hit his straps, but I don't think it means too much. I think she's in outstanding hands, and I look forward to following their journey.
Yep, speaking about a few of these, do their best work, say Mapunga Reward over 600 metres. Kangaroo class was tested over the 700 last week at the Meadows, and the text message that that come from Ash earlier on in the show, I know the racing calendar is congested, but it makes 600 metre racing the poor cousin, and I agree with that. It basically is, because there's limited opportunity for racing over that distance, even though the population of dogs that actually race over that trip is more than the 700 metres. It's probably just a historical thing, I guess, Molly, because 600 metres racing 20 years ago didn't exist. There was 500 and 700 at the city tracks. So it's sort of starting from scratch. Is that the reason why you'd suggest that the opportunity just isn't there for these types to run over 600 consistently?
Yeah, I certainly think that historics play into it, but like I don't hate it necessarily. 600 dogs are extremely versatile. Some of these can step up to 700, some of these can drop back over 500, and I think the storylines that come out of it and which way you turn can really make for the discussion. And I think discussion is a really good driver in interest.
Speaking of a good discussion, a text message has come in from our good friend Kenny from Cranbourne. Hi, Jason, Molly and John. A couple of weeks ago on a Friday afternoon at Geelong Greys, a dog finished second wearing 2 blinkers. I've heard of wearing one before. Could Molly explain why that dog gets permission and why we don't see that more often?
So it's dependent on the dog. So how the blinkers are put on. The generally it's because the dogs aren't
Concentrating.
aren't concentrating. They
don't chase the way they should.
May have pulled up, may have had a bit of a nibble or a conversation as they've gone past the dog on the way through. So they the trainers then, I suppose, ask permission from the stewards. They then have to perform a satisfactory trial to put the blinkers on. There have been some great dogs with blinkers. There's the white and black dog from Bendigo Way, Drill Sergeant. He performed really well after having blinkers on there. So it's just dependent on the dogs and the trainers. Some trainers won't go near them. Other people believe in them. So.
But
yeah.
fair to say, they're more common these days than they ever have been.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it just can prolong a dog's racing career, where some people are happy to keep trying if the dogs are willing to do it, whereas other people will pull the pin earlier, I say.
Another message from Matty Field off the long run. Serial Sticker is way over the odds. I'm backing him to win it. Couldn't agree more, Matty. He's overs at $10. He won't start at double figure odds, no doubt about that. All right, Sandown tomorrow night. The action again turns that way, and race 8, Molly. Clearly the main event of the night. We've got Lakeview Emily, who was last start down the track in the Victorian Sprint Final at the Meadows last week. Paul Oswald, who was good in that race. Smooth Plains Scalacci. There's a lot to look forward to in this free-for-all tomorrow. Yeah,
without a doubt. And look, when I was on track at the Meadows and I was watching Lakeview Emily in the stir-up of the qualifier for the Nationals, and she is very vocal. She jumps around. She has a lot to say. I had said to James when I got home, like, this is a dog that is interested. Like, she is just racing in elite company. She's drawn her box.
She is one that needs to be in that sweet spot from a confidence point of view to show her best.
Without a doubt. I also think, like, she's small. She's not an enormous dog. I would find it, I don't know whether I'm overthinking it, but I would find it extremely intimidating going up against dogs that could have 10 and 12 kilos on me. Maybe I'm just making excuses, but look, she's a great dog.
And poor Oswald was massive in that race as well. I mean, unfortunate for him that he had Mapunga Reward on his tail in that sprint final, but he's got no Mapunga Reward to contend with tomorrow night. But still, the challenge of the early part of the race doesn't weaken. Yeah,
without it, he was enormous. But you've got to love, you look through the form line, the last few starts of the runners in this field, and Scalacci's form is just outstanding. He's got 2 wins, a second, and another 2 wins to follow that. He's a great old chaser, isn't he?
Yeah, veteran of the sport and still going well, clearly, but as his work cut out for him from box 7. In terms of tips for Sandown tomorrow night, we don't have the King George Ferrugi here to talk us through that, but just on looking through this morning, I think race 4, number 2, Paul Barton, is going to be hard to beat. He's been absolutely humming for a period of time. He gets a small field here tomorrow night that looks to be right up his alley. And then in that free-for-all I spoke about, race 8, last leg of the quaddie, Lakeview Emily. Stiff last Thursday night, awesome the week before that, goes in the box number 1. Her best, she just wins that race. She's got Mapunga Rocky on her immediate outside. He uses the track, so she's going to get a paddock to work with in that last leg of the quaddie at Sandown tomorrow night. The next at Sales not too far away, and that'll see us out for grey areas, John. 2 minutes away. Okay. Now, one thing that I didn't get a chance to open up the text lines for this. Now, John, I want your input. You're a really good judge of social expectations, etiquette.
He knows Timmy Hembrow.
Yeah. Knows that girl that he seems to be attracted to. Can you wear the same piece of clothing more than once? And I'm talking about, say, a jumper or pants, not a T-shirt or your Reg Grundies. You don't want to answer this, do you?
No, but because I know where it's going. just dob him in, Molly.
You can.
Look, I caught Jason last week wearing the same jumper. I want to say 3 days in a row, and it did not sit with me.
A jumper's okay.
No.
A jumper's 100% okay.
No.
So on a Saturday morning, if you're going to let the dogs out and it's 2 degrees, you're
Yep.
wearing a jumper that is fresh.
Absolutely,
You couldn't have
I
worn
am.
the same one the day before.
No, absolutely not.
Should be on one out.
And didn't he get
Do you know what
something
I want?
on there as well?
Yes, he had a bird poo on it, and he backed up and wore
shit on
it
me.
2 days after that.
That is a concern.
That is absolutely.
You should change it then, Jason.
That is absolutely
No,
putrid.
it got a wash.
I would like to invest in some overalls though, right? When I'm going out doing the pups, just the old
book week?
farm. Yeah, no, I did not nail book week this week. I can tell you that. I sent Oliver into daycare this morning with a book called Granny's Undies, and I put some of Harriet's undies outside his clothes and said that was a dress up.
So not
Putrid.
Granny's undies, it was
No, didn't have any of Granny's undies on hand.
unreal. John, we'll see you Friday. We won't have George. You going to be here, Molly?
Oh, I might be. I'll have to ask James if he can take the kids swimming.
Hang on, sorry. I'm just reading this joke from Tim from Kilsyth, making sure it's G-rated. Dad joke for you guys. What side of a chicken has the most feathers? The outside. I don't get it.
Tim, that's it. You're barred.
Bad. Well, you'll be behind Tim Zoo. John, see you Friday. Molly, might see you Friday. Enjoy the rest of your week. That's a wrap for Grey Areas. Midday on Friday. We'll be back. In the meantime, race 4 at Sale. The favourite, the Green, Select K. Here's Paul Happy Hammond.
Moving in well, Select K is very well supported here by Bernardo for Ken Bailey. Particularly late, there's been very good support for this greyhound in this race. So we're just about set for the 4th of 12 here. Green light is on, 435 metres. They're ready. Racing. Select K began only fairly. He's trying to muster pace. Jovial Gem, the early leader. Now Select K going up with Taylor's Girl, and back on the inside, Pretty Esme. Getting checked, Indy Bear. Drifting back there was Russell. Vienna Sunset, and at the tail, Jade's Hot. Coming up to the corner, kicking back, Jovial Gem. Getting a rouse run was Taylor's Girl, and Select K's chiming in now. Select K's too strong by 3 lengths. Jovial Gems runs second. Third placing, Taylor's Girl. Then in behind those runners, Pretty Esme, Vienna Sunset, Wellback Indy Bear, Jade's Hot, and Russell in the bunch, and it's 24.79. Well, very good late support for number 6, Select K, gets the prize. Well done to Ken Bailey by Bernardo, Double Supreme. And has run pretty handy time. 24.79 has changed slightly to 24.80. Number 6 is the winner. 3, Jovial Gem, has run second. 5 gets third, Taylor's Girl. They were the 3 runners with good chances on the corner. And Select K was far too strong. 4th is 1, Pretty Esme. Interim numbers 6, 3, 5 and 1. Scored by 4 lengths in the end. Had a bit of a tussle with the other 2 coming to the corner, but sprinted away for a good win. 6, 3, 5, 1 interims. 4 lengths a neck. 24.80 totes to follow on race number 4.